All right. Hey, everybody. It's me, Coach Stacy Lynn. It is January 13th, and I want to just come in here for a couple minutes, and I want to share with you a little devotional thought that I have been thinking about this morning in regards to the danger of misplaced mercy. I want to read you from Galatians chapter 6, verses 7, 8, 9, and 10. And this is what it says. I am reading out of the New American Standard 1995 Bible. And Galatians 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 says this. It says, with goodwill. No, actually, that's not. I'm going to start in verse 5, so I get the whole context. So it says here, slaves, be obedient to those who are your masters, according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, in the sincerity of your heart, as to Christ, not by way of eye service as men pleasers, but as slaves of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart, with goodwill, render service as to the Lord, not to men, knowing that whatever good thing each one does, this he will receive back from the Lord, whether slave or free. And masters, do the same things to them and give up threatening, knowing that both their master and yours is in heaven, and there's no partiality with him. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. You know, it is interesting to me that we often miss the fact that God is impartial. And the Bible also says that we should not be deceived. God is not mocked, and a man reaps what he sows, right? So, what this principle does is it reminds us that forgiveness doesn't eliminate the consequences to our behavior. And I think sometimes our culture confuses grace with the erasure of accountability, especially when you're dealing with leaders who have abused their influence. Uh, let's talk about that for a minute. How many leaders do we know who have actually abused their influence? If you're looking at what's going on today in the world, in the church world, 99.9% of the scandals out there, unfortunately, have to do with church abuse by men. It's not the women, it's the men. And Jesus spoke to the bullies of his day in the church who were doing the abuse, and he always held people accountable. And here's the thing, true repentance will welcome appropriate consequences as part of their healing process. When we rush to forgive and forget without allowing justice to run its course, we actually harm both the offender and the victim, because the offender will miss the opportunity for genuine transformation that comes from repentance for real. And then the victims receive the message that their pain never mattered in the first place. So biblical restoration actually involves both grace and accountability. And some people, I think, confuse that thing. They confuse enabling with compassion. And the thing is God's mercy is vast and it never bypasses the truth. So the problem is, if you have misplaced mercy, then you have people who will never really get what they actually truly need. Many years ago, I had a friend, actually, it was a therapist friend of mine. She shared this story about how when she had little children, she hired a babysitter to watch her kids. And the babysitter decided to take the kids for a ride, and she ended up going to 7-Eleven. She kept the car on while she went in. She left the kids in the car. She left the car on while she ran into 7-Eleven to get a drink. Because she figured, well, I'm only going to be in here like literally a minute. By the time she came back, the child had taken the gear shift and had actually got it out of park, and the car was starting to move. And I remember talking to this therapist, and the whole point of her sharing that with me was because she asked me, she goes, "Do you think I forgive that person, or do you think I trusted them?" And I said, "Well, I mean, I could see if you forgave them, because, obviously they didn't mean to do what happened, but did you trust them?" And she said, "No, I didn't trust them, but I did forgive them, but I would never ever hire them again to watch my kids." Why? Because she put her kids in danger. And even though it wasn't, quote, malicious, unquote, her kids could have got really injured from that situation. So, how much more so in the church when we have people who are in positions of authority? And mind you, they are. Anybody who tells you that a pastor or an elder or a Bible study teacher or a Sunday school teacher isn't in a position of authority is full of baloney, because they are. They're teaching. And teachers will be held to a stricter judgment because they are in that position of authority. That's why you should be very careful with the people you put in these positions. And so when a person who's in a position of authority abuses somebody or doesn't speak up when they know something's being abused, then you have to really look at how to deal with that person in an effective way, because we can't just speak mercy into that person's life without accountability. And Jesus never did that. Jesus spoke mercy with accountability. Today, we want to just let people off the hook because, oh, we know, don't judge lest we be judged, and blah, blah. And it's like, no, you know what? If you commit a crime, you should go to jail for it if it's a crime that is worthy of jail. And it's interesting to me. I actually raised this question in a private group I lead, and the question concerns Philip Yancey. Okay. So we see that Philip Yancey spent 8 years in an adulterous relationship, leading a double life, right? He was well respected by a lot of people. He wrote books on topics and stuff like this, and everybody jumps to the mercy, mercy, mercy card. After all, he confessed it, blah, blah. Okay. Now, let me ask you this. If the situation wasn't adultery, let's say it was child abuse, just for as an example, and this is an example. I'm not saying this happened. This is an example. I'm just trying to extrapolate this out. If this man had been abusing a child for that length of time, would the reaction from the church be the exact same? Would it be, oh, you just got to give mercy. After all, he wrote books about child rearing and blah, blah, as opposed to having the book thrown at him and going to jail over it, right? There are consequences to this type of egregious sin and behavior, and Jesus held people accountable. The problem is the church doesn't, especially when it comes to male Christian celebrities. But they're quick to judge the women who have been vilified and set up and abused by men. And I'm just going to end it there. I know I could talk a lot longer on it, but I actually got a meeting I got to get to. And, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. The whole purpose of me talking, though, today is just to talk about the danger of misplaced mercy. Okay. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Do you think that the church has misplaced mercy? And in particular, do you think that they have given more favor to men over women who have been caught in the same type of sin? I'd like to know. So, as always, feel free to leave me a comment, hit subscribe if you'd like, and I hope you have a better day. I gotta end this. There we go. I hope you have a better day, people.